The night was supposed to be like any other. 17-year-old Lisa McVey had just finished her late shift at a local donut shop in Tampa, Florida, when the unthinkable happened. What was once a quiet ride home turned into a nightmare that no one could have predicted. This is the incredible true story of how one young woman's courage and survival instincts led to the capture of a brutal serial killer who terrorized the streets of Florida. It was November 3, 1984, when Lisa was riding her bicycle home from her late-night shift, tired and worn out. With her back aching from a long day of work, the streets were quiet, almost eerily empty. Lisa had no reason to believe anything out of the ordinary would happen. After all, her route was familiar, a simple journey down dimly lit streets to her apartment. But that night, the darkness hid an unimaginable danger. And when a car pulled up beside her, her life as she knew it would never be the same again. Lisa had barely registered the sound of the engine when a car appeared beside her. The driver was a man, someone she had never seen before. He revved the engine, and before she could react, the car abruptly surged forward, blocking her path. Before she could even scream, his hand shot out, grabbing her, pulling her off the bike, and slamming her into the car. Fear shot through her veins like ice. A cold metal object pressed against her head, a gun. He told her in a cold, low voice, "If you scream, I'll kill you." Lisa froze, her body stiff with terror. She was barely able to catch her breath before she was shoved into the car. Every attempt to escape was futile. Her body was overpowered by the strength of the man. As he drove her away, she tried desperately to make sense of the situation, but the world around her spun in a blur. Every breath she took felt like it could be her last. Her mind raced. Where was he taking her? Was there a chance for her to survive? She had heard about women disappearing, but she never imagined she could become one of those statistics. She instinctively knew that every minute mattered. If she didn't act fast, if she didn't stay calm and think, this would be her end. The next few hours were a blur of terror. Lisa was blindfolded, bound, and stuffed into a small space in the back of a car. She couldn't see, but she could hear. She listened to every sound, the engine's hum, the way his breathing shifted when he got nervous, the scrape of his boots against the floor of the car. She could smell the faint scent of cigarettes, stale coffee, and something else she couldn't quite place. All these small details seemed so unimportant at first, but Lisa knew every piece of this moment mattered. The man drove for what felt like hours, taking her to an unknown location. Lisa's heart pounded in her chest. She couldn't afford to panic. Not now. Every ounce of her being screamed for survival, and survival meant being smart. She started to study her surroundings, memorizing the sounds of the car's engine, the turns, the bumps in the road. She noted the way the air felt, stale and hot, like they were entering a confined space. Each subtle shift in the car was information, pieces of a puzzle that she was gathering with quiet precision. As they arrived at their destination, Lisa could hear the crunch of gravel under the tires, and the way the vehicle slowed down as it came to a stop. She was taken inside, her blindfold still in place, and pushed into what she soon realized was an apartment. It was small, cluttered, and had a distinct, unpleasant smell. Lisa's mind raced. If she could remember every detail, every word, every shift in his movements, she could escape. She had to. And as strange as it seemed, she did the unthinkable. She remained calm. She spoke gently to him, trying to appear understanding and sympathetic. She asked him questions and listened to his responses. At first, he seemed irritated, but slowly, over time, he began to talk. It was a psychological game, one that required every ounce of patience Lisa had left, but it worked. She learned his name, Bobby Joe Long. As the hours stretched on, Lisa realized that Bobby Joe Long wasn't just any man, he was a serial killer. She had heard rumors in the news about women disappearing from the area, women who were never found, their lives snuffed out without a trace. As Bobby Joe spoke, Lisa began to piece the fragments of his story together. The way he spoke about his past, his troubled childhood, and his strained relationships made it clear this was no ordinary man. He was a predator, and she was his next victim. But Lisa wasn't like the others. She refused to break. Despite the horrifying reality of her situation, she kept her cool. She treated him with a kindness she didn't feel, pretending to empathize with his pain, pretending to care. She spoke softly, asking him questions about his life, about his childhood, anything that might make him trust her. She realized that the more he trusted her, the more he would reveal. And the more he revealed, the more she could use against him. Hours passed. Lisa had no idea how much time had gone by. Hours, maybe even days. But her mind was sharp, her instincts on high alert. As Bobby Joe grew more comfortable around her, he began to let his guard down, even as he took increasingly disturbing actions. Lisa knew she had to act soon. She had to escape. But she couldn't afford to make a mistake. One wrong move could mean the end. In a surprising twist, Bobby Joe Long did something Lisa could never have anticipated. Instead of continuing with his plans, he decided, for reasons that were never fully understood, to let her go. He drove her to a secluded area, blindfolded, and told her to get out of the car. He dumped her on the side of the road, telling her to run and never look back. And as she lay there, disoriented and terrified, the weight of the moment hit her like a wave. She was free. But her first instinct was not to run away. No, it was to save others. There were still women out there who needed help. Lisa knew that if she could survive this, she could stop Bobby Joe Long from ever hurting anyone again. With incredible strength, Lisa gathered the courage to walk straight into the nearest police station. But when she told them what had happened, they didn't believe her. They saw her as just another troubled teenager, someone with a troubled past who was probably making up a story. But Lisa was unshaken. She persisted, repeating the details of the car, the apartment, the man's voice. Slowly, they started to believe her. They had no idea just how much she knew, no idea how much she had remembered. Lisa had spent hours with Bobby Joe Long. She knew things about him, the details, clues, things that would lead to his capture. And when the authorities acted on her information, they discovered that Bobby Joe Long was the one responsible for the horrific string of murders that had terrorized Tampa. He was arrested and, eventually, convicted of his crimes. Lisa McVey's bravery didn't just stop with her escape, it continued for years. After helping to bring down one of the most notorious serial killers in history, she became a voice for survivors, a protector, a fighter for justice. Hit like, subscribe, and share this powerful story with your friends. Because sometimes, survival isn't just about escaping, it's about making sure no one else has to endure the same horrors.